We've been hearing plenty about this cross-state business border war between Kansas and Missouri. Rather than just grumble about Kansas taking jobs, Missouri lawmakers now say they're committed to doing something about it. In fact, just this morning, Missouri lawmakers went on the road and held a public hearing on the issue at Union Station. Some of our guests around the table were there testifying. Several plans have just been unveiled, aimed at keeping and attracting new jobs in the Show Me State. One solution involves gradually cutting taxes in half for all Missouri businesses in the next 5 years. The price tag, $350 million a year. Another fix from our guest, Lee Summit Republican Senator Will Kraus, would involve lowering the top income tax rate from 6 to 5%, creating a 25% tax deduction for business incomes, and cutting the corporate income tax in half over 3 years. The price tag, $1 billion annually once fully phased in. Now, some people may look at this and say, wow, that's a massively expensive fix. But is that what Missouri needs to do if it wants to seriously compete with Kansas, Senator Kraus?
You know, we have to look at our tax policy, and that's what we're doing in the Ways and Means Committee this year. And my proposal was one that I started with. I am not naive to believe that it is going to pass the way it is formed. I know the other side of the aisle would like some revenues in there, and at the end of the day, we have to give concessions, and that's where I wanted to start the discussion at.
But the argument is, though, that Missouri can't stand still on this.
Absolutely we can't. I mean, if we do nothing, businesses in Missouri are looking across the state line and saying, I can save 6 or 7% if they live in Kansas City just by moving across the state line.
Now, Senator LeVota, you have said, though, that you don't think it's all about just the taxes to begin with. That is not the reason why a lot of these businesses are actually going over to Kansas in the first place.
That's right. We've seen growth in Kansas for the past few decades because of the quality of life, good schools, good infrastructure, and we can't just jump into what Kansas did without seeing what happens at the end of the day. As they cut their taxes, they're going to reduce their revenues that support schools and roads, and Missouri just can't be the Me Too state and go along with exactly what Kansas has done until we know how that actually affects our revenue.
Okay, now Patrick Ishmael, you were testifying again this morning at Union Station looking into this issue. You've been researching this. What did you testify to this morning?
Well, I do agree that it's not just taxes when you're talking about development. It's a lot of different issues, but taxes is a big, big issue. And the state of Missouri hands out $400 to $500 million in tax credits annually for development purposes. That's not a very efficient way of promoting growth. And what you're seeing across the country, from the Gulf of Mexico up to the Great Lakes, a kind of growth corridor developing where Louisiana is looking to get rid of their corporate income tax, their individual income tax. Same with Nebraska. Tax reductions on income all across the region. And I think that the literature is very clear on this, that the most destructive taxes you can have are on income, and among income taxes, corporate income taxes is the worst.
But you're looking at a state, though, that's looking at all of these businesses just leaving. That's mass exodus of businesses going from Missouri to Kansas. Missouri wants to do something about it.
I think it ought to. I don't think that sitting on our hands is really a prudent option, and I think, you know, trying to read the fine print, I know that there's kind of a discussion about, well, when people start finding out what Kansas is doing, they won't do it. And I think that they'll probably read the fine print in Kansas, and Missouri can't be waiting.
Senator.
You know, I think that one thing you have to understand is in January, Kansas had a record number of small businesses filing, more than any time ever in the history of Kansas. And what happens is the business owner may not pay taxes, but all the employees are going to pay taxes. They're broadening their base. That's what Kansas is doing. This hole that everybody thinks is going to happen in Kansas, I don't think it's going to be as big as people think it's going to be.
Okay, we're going to bring in Dave Helling in a moment, but yes, Senator LeVota.
I guess I don't buy the premise that there's this mass exodus over to Kansas. We've seen some border wars going on with only a net of 500 jobs to Kansas, with a tune of like $250,000 a job. So, you know, as we've done incentives and had this border war, we don't see this. We see people moving to communities that have good schools and good quality of life. It has little to do with taxes. I do agree that, you know, tax policy can be used to move the state forward, and I'm anxious to work on that in the Senate, but straight taxes that hurt our revenues just because another state did it, you know, I like the idea of digging into the details and waiting until we see what happens.
So it's been exaggerated, this border business battle?
Well, I think it's been exaggerated that there's a mass exodus to Kansas, because we haven't seen that yet.
Dave.
Yeah, I think this discussion, by the way, is fascinating, because I do think not only Missouri and Kansas, but all the states, as Patrick suggests, are having this discussion, a broad discussion of moving tax policy on the state level away from income and capital and transferring it to consumption, primarily through sales taxes, but also toward eliminating deductions like in Kansas for the home mortgage deduction, that type of thing. And the argument you'll hear is that transfer of tax responsibility from income and capital to consumption is the best way to incent businesses. Now, the problem, or at least the concern you will hear on the other side, Nick, is that there is, at some point, has to be an end to that. Otherwise, you get into a bidding war among all states in which everyone races to zero, and at the end of the day, you end up with no advantage at all compared to your neighbor states. If you end the income tax in Kansas, for example, and Nebraska does it, and Oklahoma does it, and Missouri does it, then you're no better off than you were before, except you have blown a $250 million hole in your budget or whatever. So I think as the policymakers that you're hearing today talk about this, they're going to have to balance that between incenting businesses and what the impact is region-wide to running government.
But Senator Krause, you said Missouri can't wait, though.
I think as leases come up, these small businesses, they're going to look at that 6 to 7% they're going to save by crossing the state line. If we have a plan in place, a phase out of the business income tax or a phase down on the business income tax, they are likely to say, you know what, I like my community. I like the schools that my kids are going to school at. And they may stay. But if we do nothing, as those leases expire and those businesses are looking at 5 and 10 years down the road, they are going to look across the border to see what would happen.
Can we put that full screen back on our screen here for a moment, looking at Senator Krause's plan? How this is going to be about $1 billion a year. How would that actually be paid for?
Well, the income tax for individuals is the largest part of that budget. And I look at the fact that we probably are going to look at a use tax going more towards a sales tax as as we continue the discussion. I'm not a believer that thinking we're going to get $1 billion cut on our budget. I think the other side is going to want some revenue, and I'm willing to work with them to put the revenue package in this. But I didn't file revenue because I'm not wanting to raise any taxes.
Okay. But the state of Kansas has been willing to reduce its taxes, Dave Helling, and they're bringing in jobs by doing it. So certainly what Senator Krause is suggesting, by lowering taxes in Missouri, that will attract more businesses coming into the state, just like Senator Sam Brownback, Governor Brownback's strategy is in Kansas.
Yeah, it will bring businesses, Nick. Whether it brings employment remains an open question. Remember, you can open a business in Kansas, but your employees can still live in Missouri and would owe Missouri taxes. And so the incentives you have now offered to that company cuts those taxes, but doesn't provide any additional revenue other than the occasional hamburger purchase near the workplace. So that, and I'm not sure that's completely clear at all yet in terms of what the impact is going to be in Kansas, which is why you'll hear business leaders in our community, Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas, worry about this border war. They think at the end of the day there's a net loss to the area.
In April of 2011, an elite group of metro area business leaders issued an unusual plea to the governors of Missouri and Kansas, demanding a ceasefire for what they described as this increasingly fractious border war over attracting businesses. The letter sent to Missouri Governor Jay Nixon and Kansas Governor Sam Brownback was signed by 17 top executives, including Dan Hesse of Sprint and Donald Hall Jr. of Hallmark Cards. They asked for a moratorium on these economic incentives, saying they don't create new jobs, they just shift them from one place to the other. It's almost 2 years later. What happened?
We should be listening to these business leaders because we really are, especially in the Kansas City area, we are the same community, and we can't keep having this war. So that's why we have to look at things that make sense. We can't cut our revenue so much to where we don't have quality schools. In Missouri, we're $650 million short of the foundation formula to commitment of the school. So we can't afford to make these changes unless we know that it's actually going to bring new jobs and new economic prosperity.
Patrick.
Well, I mean, especially on the incentive front, I haven't seen a whole lot of real progress in terms of reforming them. putting caps on them, transparency. I mean, I think we're looking at possibly seeing a new tax credit created this session. And I think that that's the wrong direction. I think that it's going completely opposite to the direction that the business leaders were looking for.
But there was a national study just recently done, a Good Jobs First report that was just done. And certainly, though, Kansas City wasn't the most egregious offender on a national level when it came to giving away economic incentives to bring jobs to a state.
Well, I mean, the New York Times did a whole series of stories about the incentive issue. They focused on Kansas City. It may not be the worst violator, but not being the worst doesn't mean that it's good. It doesn't mean that you're in a good place. And I think better than picking winners and losers, I think that the government ought to support all by reducing taxes.
Senator Krause.
The Senate has been pushing for tax credit reform, which are some of these incentives you're talking about for the last 3 years. We have had some opposition with the House. I will tell you that we got new leadership in the House this year. I believe we're going to be looking at these tax credits and reforming them down the road. I agree, we don't need to be picking winners and losers with these tax credits. If it was up to me, we'd eliminate almost all the tax credits and take that money and reduce income tax. I think that's a far better way to incentivize businesses to come to Missouri.
Okay. Now, sorry, Senator.
Well, yeah, I agree with the tax credit reform too, and I think there's some appetite for it in the Senate. And we need to look at that. We need to look at our tax policy. We need to look at other ways that create jobs, like Medicaid expansion, all together as we look through some of these things to make sure we're not just doing what another state did.
I mean, on the Medicaid expansion, I just want to chime in that you're talking about a new $3 billion expense over the course of the next 10 years. And we're talking, it's being portrayed as some sort of job creator. This just sounds like a different version of a tax credit. Well, where you get all the promises up front, but when you look at it at the very end, after all the money's been spent, where do you end up? And in addition to that, federal money is still our money. That's debt. Right. And it's not debt that's being spent out of today's dollars. It's debt out of the pockets of our children and grandchildren.
But it's our money that should be in our state and used for our citizens. And, it seems as though you talk about Medicaid expansion or other things, and you wonder how you're going to pay for it. But when it comes to the tax cuts, no one ever asks how we're going to pay for it. We need to pay for everything, and we need to have it all part of the same conversation.
Senator Krause.
On the Medicaid expansion, the problem we have is that people are looking at this as free money for the first 3 years. We should use this free money that's come from the federal government. Number one, it's our tax dollars. We should use it. The problem is we haven't looked at years 4, 5, 6, 7. How are we going to pay for that? Senator LaVota already mentioned that we're in a hole. We're not funding our schools where we need to be, $500 million. And I've yet to see a plan. The governor hasn't rolled a plan out of how he's going to pay for this after the free money goes away.